Hello, English learners. Welcome back to Speak English Naturally, the podcast where real-life moments become your natural English practice. I am Rose.
And I am Jack. It is wonderful to have you with us today.
Before we dive into today's topic, Jack, I need to confess something. I was cleaning my desk yesterday and I found a beautiful, very expensive notebook. Do you know what was written inside?
Let me guess. The date? January 1st. A massive list of life goals. And then completely blank pages for the rest of the year?
Exactly. The first page was a masterpiece. I used 3 different coloured pens. I wrote, wake up at 5 a.m, run 5 kilometres, study English for 2 hours. And the second page? Completely empty.
The classic perfect plan. We love the feeling of planning. The notebook looks so clean, and our future selves look so disciplined. But then, Wednesday happens. You are tired. It is raining, and the notebook just sits there on the desk, judging you.
It really did feel like the notebook was judging me. But it made me think about how we learn languages. We do this exact same thing with English, don't we?
We do it all the time. And that is exactly what today's episode is about. We're talking about how to build an English habit that actually sticks. Not a fantasy habit. Not a perfect 2-hour study plan that you abandon after 3 days. We're talking about realistic habits for normal, tired human beings.
This is such a common struggle. You start with so much motivation. You download 5 new language apps. You buy a thick grammar book. You tell yourself, this time I will be fluent in 6 months. And for the first few days, it feels amazing.
Yes, the beginning is always exciting. You are riding a wave of motivation. But motivation is an emotion, and it disappears quickly. When the motivation fades, what is left? Usually, just guilt. You miss 1 day, then 2 days, and suddenly, you feel like you have failed completely.
And when you feel like you've failed, you avoid English entirely. You see the app icon on your phone, and you feel a little bit of stress. Learning English stops being an exciting journey and becomes a heavy burden.
But it does not have to be that way. If you have ever started an English routine and stopped, I want you to know your English is not broken, and you are not lazy. You probably just built a habit that was too heavy to carry.
So today, we are going to fix that. We will show you how to drop the heavy burden. We will talk about creating a habit so small, so simple, that you cannot say no to it. A habit that sticks with you on the good days, the tired days, and the very busy days.
Because in the end, doing a tiny bit of English every single day is infinitely better than doing 3 hours of English once a month. Consistency is the real secret, and today we will build it together.
Before we get deep into the conversation, let's quickly talk about the level of today's episode. This is a B1 English conversation.
That means the vocabulary is practical, the pace is natural, and the concepts are very useful for your everyday life. If you are an intermediate learner, this is perfect for your listening practice.
And if you feel like B1 is a little challenging for you, do not worry at all. You do not need to understand every single word immediately. Just sit back, relax, and listen like you are sitting in a cafe with 2 friends. Let the general meaning come to you naturally.
Exactly. This is not a test. And remember, near the end of the episode, we will slow things down for our special word tour. We will carefully review the most useful words and phrases you hear today, so you can use them confidently.
We also love hearing from you. While you listen, if you hear an idea that you really agree with, please drop a short comment below the video. Even writing 1 simple English sentence is a great way to practice.
Yes, every small step counts. So, are you ready to stop making perfect plans and start building real habits? Let's jump in.
So Jack, let's start with the big mistake almost everyone makes, the fantasy of the perfect routine. Why do we always want to do everything perfectly when we start?
I think it is because we love the idea of a massive transformation. When someone decides to improve their English, they don't just want to be a little better. They want to be a completely different person. They picture themselves speaking fluently at a business conference next month.
Oh, I know that feeling so well. You watch a motivational video online and suddenly you feel unstoppable. You tell yourself, okay, from tomorrow I will wake up at 5 a.m, listen to an English podcast while jogging, do 30 minutes of grammar exercises, and then read an English news article during breakfast.
That is a beautiful plan. It is a plan for a superhero. But we are not superheroes. We are regular people who sometimes press the snooze button on our alarms 3 times.
Only 3 times? You are generous today. But you are absolutely right. The problem is that we design a routine for our best days. The days when we have perfect energy, no stress, and plenty of free time.
Exactly. A 2-hour study block is very ambitious. Being ambitious is a wonderful thing, but ambition alone does not build a long-term habit. When you create a routine that demands perfect conditions, you are setting yourself up to fail. Because real life is never perfect.
Real life is messy. Sometimes your boss gives you extra work. Sometimes your kids get sick. Sometimes you just sleep badly and wake up feeling completely exhausted.
And on those days, that perfect 2-hour English routine looks terrifying. Your brain looks at the plan and says, nope, not today. We do not have the energy for that. So you do nothing.
And this leads us to the all or nothing mindset. I think this is the most dangerous trap for English learners.
It really is. The all or nothing mindset means you think, if I cannot do my full 2 hours of studying, then doing 5 minutes is pointless. I will just wait until the weekend when I have more time.
Yes, I will do it on Sunday. But Sunday comes and you have to clean the house, buy groceries and rest. So the English books stay on the shelf.
And what happens next is the worst part. The guilt. You start feeling guilty that you are falling behind your own imaginary schedule.
Oh, the guilt is so heavy. You start thinking, I have 0 discipline. I am never going to learn this language. I am just bad at studying. You tie your self-worth to a completely unrealistic plan.
But let's look at the reality. You are not lazy. Your plan was just too heavy. Imagine trying to lift a 100-kilogram weight on your first day at the gym. When you cannot lift it, you don't say, I am a bad person. You say, the weight is too heavy for me right now.
That is a perfect example. We need to lower the weight. We need to make the habit lighter so we can actually pick it up every single day without feeling crushed.
Exactly. If you want a habit that sticks, it cannot depend on motivation. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions change every single day. A real habit operates on autopilot. You do it without thinking, just like brushing your teeth.
So how do we move from this heavy, perfect plan to something that operates on autopilot?
We have to establish what I call the bare minimum, the absolute smallest amount of effort that still counts as practice.
The bare minimum. I like the sound of that. It immediately takes away the pressure. What does a bare minimum look like in real life?
Let's say your ideal, ambitious goal is to read an English book for 30 minutes a day. That is the big goal. But your bare minimum should be, I will read 1 single sentence.
Just 1 sentence? Some people listening might think, Jack, reading 1 sentence is not going to make me fluent. That is too easy.
It is supposed to be too easy. The goal of the bare minimum is not immediate fluency. The goal is consistency. You are trying to build the identity of someone who practices English every day, no matter what happens.
Oh, I see. So if it is 11:30 p.m, you are exhausted and you are already in bed, you don't have the energy for 30 minutes of reading. But you can always find the energy to read 1 sentence.
Exactly. You open the book, read 1 sentence, close the book, and go to sleep. You still win. You didn't break the chain. You kept the habit alive for another day.
That is brilliant because it kills the all or nothing mindset completely. You don't have a 0 day, you have a tiny day, but a tiny day still counts as progress.
I also call this having a fallback plan. Your main plan is your ambitious goal. Your fallback plan is your safety net. When life gets crazy, you fall back to the bare minimum. You survive the hard days without giving up entirely.
Let's give our listeners some very practical examples of these bite-sized habits. If someone wants to improve their listening skills, what is a good bare minimum?
A great bare minimum for listening is one song. Not a whole podcast episode, not a movie. Just one English song that you actually enjoy. Listen to it while you make your morning coffee. That takes exactly 3 minutes.
I love that. 3 minutes is a pocket of time everyone has. What about speaking? Speaking is usually the hardest habit to build because people feel shy or they think they need a conversation partner.
You don't always need a partner to build a speaking habit. Your bare minimum could be, I will speak one English sentence out loud to myself in the shower. Or, I will say the name of 3 objects I see in my room before I leave the house.
So I can just look at my desk and say, cup, pen, very sad empty notebook.
Yes, exactly. You just activated your English brain for 5 seconds. Over time, that cup, pen, notebook turns into the cup is next to the pen. And later it becomes, I need to buy a new pen because this one ran out of ink.
It builds up naturally without any stress. You are removing the friction. Another tiny habit I always recommend is changing the language on your phone to English.
Oh, that is a classic trick, and it works so incredibly well. You check your phone 100 times a day. If the language is in English, you are forcing your brain to process English vocabulary on autopilot. You don't even have to schedule study time for that.
And it teaches you extremely practical words. You learn words like settings, cancel, delete, forward, and share. Real English that you actually use in the modern world.
Now, once you have your bite-sized habit, there is a secret trick to make sure you never forget to do it. It is a concept called habit stacking.
Habit stacking. I think I know this one. It means you attach your new English habit to an old habit that you already do every single day.
Precisely. Your brain already has strong neural pathways for things you do daily without thinking. Waking up, brushing your teeth, making coffee, commuting to work. If you try to create a brand new time slot for English out of nowhere, it is very easy to forget. But if you stack it on something existing, it becomes automatic.
Let's give an example. I drink a cup of coffee every single morning. I literally cannot function without it. So that is a very strong existing habit.
Right. So your habit stack would be, after I turn on the coffee machine, I will listen to one short English audio. The coffee machine is the trigger. You don't need motivation. You just need the coffee machine to remind you.
I do this with my commute. When I get into my car, the first thing I do is put on my seatbelt. The second thing I do is play an English podcast. I don't even think about it anymore. The car is my English classroom.
That is the perfect habit stack. When I do X, I will do Y. When I wait for the bus, I will review 3 vocabulary flashcards on my phone. When I wash the dishes, I will think about my day in English.
Washing the dishes is actually a great time for English. Your hands are busy, but your mind is free. You can just talk to yourself. I am washing a very dirty plate. Why do we eat so much food?
See? You are practicing real grammar and vocabulary, and you didn't have to sit down at a desk with a notebook to do it.
That is such a great point. You are turning a boring chore into a learning opportunity. Okay, so we have our bare minimum and we stacked it on an old habit like drinking coffee or washing the dishes. What is the next step? How do we make sure we don't quit after a few weeks?
The next step is making your progress visible. This is crucial because when you do a tiny habit, the results are invisible at first. You do not suddenly become fluent after reading 1 sentence a day for a week.
Right, and when we don't see immediate results, our brain says, this is not working, this is a waste of time, let's stop.
Exactly. Your brain wants a reward. If the reward is not fluency, the reward has to be the feeling of success. You need to celebrate the tiny win. A tiny win is a small success that proves you are moving forward.
How do we celebrate a tiny win? Should I buy myself a cake every time I listen to one song in English? Because I would fully support that plan.
While a daily cake sounds amazing, it might create other problems. A simpler way is to use a visual tracker. Just get a cheap, physical wall calendar, the kind you can hang in your kitchen or your bedroom.
Okay, I have my calendar. What do I do with it?
Every day that you complete your bare minimum habit, even if it was just reading one sentence or listening to one song, you take a big red marker and draw an X on that day.
Oh, I know this method. It is sometimes called "don't break the chain."
Yes, it is very famous and very effective. After a few days, you have a chain of X's on your calendar. Your only job is to not break that chain. You are not trying to be perfect at English. You are just trying to get the next X.
And there is something deeply satisfying about crossing off a day on a physical calendar. Apps are great, but sometimes a notification on your phone just causes stress. A calendar on your wall is quiet, but it is always there, showing you your consistency.
It changes your focus. You stop thinking, how far away is fluency? And you start thinking, I just need to show up today. To show up means to be present and do the work, even when you don't feel like it.
I love that phrase. Showing up is 80% of the battle. But Jack, let's be totally realistic. Real life happens. What happens if you get sick? Or you have a crazy day at work, you come home late, you fall asleep on the sofa, and you break the chain?
That is going to happen. It happens to everyone. You will miss a day. The rule here is simple. Never miss 2 days in a row.
Never miss 2 days in a row. That is a fantastic rule. It takes away the panic.
Yes, missing 1 day is an accident. Missing 2 days is the start of a new bad habit. If you miss a day, you don't say, oh no, my chain is broken, I am a failure, I will quit until next month. You just say, oops, I missed yesterday. I must do my bare minimum today to get back on track.
To get back on track. That is exactly what we need to remember. You just gently return to the habit. You don't need to do double the work the next day. You don't need to read 2 chapters because you missed 1 sentence yesterday.
Exactly. Please do not punish yourself. When you try to catch up by doing double the work, you are making the habit heavy again. And remember what we said earlier. A heavy habit is a habit you will drop. Just go back to the bare minimum.
This is why it is so important to stop being hard on yourself. When we are learning a language, we are our own worst critics. We notice every mistake, every forgotten word, every missed day.
Being hard on yourself drains your energy. It makes English feel like an enemy. If you want a habit to stick, you have to make peace with imperfection. You have to say, my English is not perfect. My routine is not perfect. But I am still here, and I am still trying.
That is a beautiful way to look at it. Now, Jack, I want to talk about a specific problem many learners face after they build a habit. Let's say someone has been doing their small habit for 3 months. They are consistent. But suddenly they feel bored. They feel like they are not improving anymore. They hit a wall.
Hitting a wall. This is a very normal stage. In language learning, we call this the learning plateau. At first, you learn fast. Then, your progress seems to stop, even though you are still practicing. It feels flat, like a plateau.
It is a very frustrating feeling. You think, I am doing the work. Why am I not getting better? What should a learner do when they hit that plateau?
When you hit a plateau, your habit needs a small upgrade. You have successfully built the consistency part. Now you need to step slightly outside your comfort zone.
The comfort zone. It is a nice place, but nothing grows there. How do we step out of it without making the habit too heavy again?
You make a tiny adjustment. If your daily habit was listening to a 3-minute song, maybe now you listen to a 5-minute podcast. If your habit was saying 3 objects in your room, maybe now you try to describe what you did yesterday in 3 sentences.
You just add a little bit of weight. Not 100 kilograms, just 1 extra kilogram.
Exactly. You change the activity just enough to make your brain pay attention again, but you keep the core habit alive. The time slot is the same. The trigger is the same. Just the content changes slightly.
That makes so much sense. It keeps things fresh. You know, listening to all these strategies, it really comes down to how we view ourselves. When you start an ambitious, impossible routine, you view yourself as a student who must be forced to study.
Yes, it feels like a punishment. But when you build a tiny, consistent habit, you start to view yourself differently. You stop being someone who is trying to study English, and you become an English speaker who practices daily.
That is a powerful identity shift. You are an English speaker right now, today. You don't need to wait until you are perfectly fluent to claim that title. Every time you listen to a song, read a sentence, or say a word, you are proving that identity.
And that identity is what will keep you going for years. Motivation comes and goes, but your identity stays with you. If you see yourself as a daily learner, you will naturally do the daily actions.
This has been such a helpful conversation, Jack. I feel like my heavy notebook of impossible plans is finally gone. I am ready to embrace the bare minimum.
Goodbye, perfect notebook. Hello, messy but consistent reality.
Exactly. All right, before we wrap up, let's slow things down and take a look at our word tour.
Yes, these are the useful words and phrases from today's conversation. We will explain them simply, give you examples, and let you practice saying them out loud.
Listen, repeat, and try to use one of them in your own daily life. Let's dive in.
Our first phrase is bare minimum.
Bare minimum means the smallest or least amount of something that is required or acceptable. In our context, it is the smallest effort you can make that still counts as practice.
For example, on days when I am tired, I just do the bare minimum for my English practice.
Another example, he passed the test, but he only did the bare minimum of studying.
Use this phrase when you want to talk about doing just enough to succeed or keep a habit alive.
Repeat after us. Bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
Excellent. Our second phrase is all or nothing mindset.
An all or nothing mindset is a way of thinking where you believe things must be perfect or they are completely ruined. There is no middle ground.
For example, her all or nothing mindset makes it hard for her to enjoy small successes.
Another example. I had to drop my all or nothing mindset to finally build a consistent routine.
Use this phrase to describe a perfectionist attitude that often leads to quitting.
Repeat after us. All or nothing mindset.
All or nothing mindset.
Great job. The next phrase is set yourself up to fail.
To set yourself up to fail means to create a situation where failure is almost guaranteed, usually by having unrealistic expectations.
For example, if you try to study for 4 hours every night, you will set yourself up to fail.
Another example. He set himself up to fail by not preparing for the interview.
Use this phrase when someone is making a plan that is too difficult to actually finish.
Repeat after us. Set yourself up to fail.
Set yourself up to fail.
Our fourth word is autopilot.
Autopilot means doing something automatically without having to think about it because it is a strong habit.
For example, I make my coffee on autopilot every morning.
Another example. When you drive the same route every day, your brain goes on autopilot.
Use this word when a habit becomes so natural that it requires zero effort.
Repeat after us. Autopilot.
Autopilot.
Next, we have the phrase habit stacking.
Habit stacking is the strategy of attaching a new, small habit to an old habit that you already do every day.
For example, I use habit stacking by listening to an English podcast while I cook dinner.
Another example. Habit stacking helped me remember to drink more water in the morning.
Use this phrase when you are talking about building routines efficiently.
Repeat after us. Habit stacking.
Habit stacking.
Moving on, our next phrase is tiny win.
A tiny win is a small, easy success that helps build your confidence and keeps you motivated.
For example, understanding a joke in an English movie was a huge, tiny win for me today.
Another example, celebrate your tiny wins because they add up to big results.
Use this phrase to describe a small victory that makes you feel good about your progress.
Repeat after us. Tiny win.
Tiny win.
Awesome. The next phrase is show up.
To show up means to be present and do the work you promise to do, even when it is difficult or you feel tired.
For example, the most important part of learning a language is just choosing to show up every day.
Another example. Even though she was nervous, she showed up for the presentation.
Use this phrase to talk about commitment and presence.
Repeat after us. Show up.
Show up.
Our 8th phrase is get back on track.
To get back on track means to return to the correct path or routine after you have made a mistake or stopped for a while.
For example, I missed 3 days of exercise, but today I will get back on track.
Another example. After a long vacation, it is hard to get back on track with studying.
Use this phrase when you are fixing a broken routine without feeling guilty.
Repeat after us. Get back on track.
Get back on track.
Almost done. Our next phrase is be hard on yourself.
To be hard on yourself means to criticize yourself too much or expect too much perfection from yourself.
For example, you only made one mistake. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Another example. Language learners are often too hard on themselves when they forget a word.
Use this phrase to tell someone to be kinder and more forgiving to themselves.
Repeat after us. Be hard on yourself.
Be hard on yourself.
And our final phrase for today is hit a wall.
To hit a wall means to reach a point where you cannot make any more progress or you suddenly feel completely exhausted.
For example, after studying for 3 hours, my brain just hit a wall.
Another example. I was improving my English fast, but recently I feel like I have hit a wall.
Use this phrase to describe a sudden stop in progress or energy.
Repeat after us. Hit a wall.
Hit a wall.
Fantastic job, everyone. That wraps up our word tour for today. You did great.
So, let's do a quick recap. Today we talked about why perfect, ambitious study plans usually fail. We learned that the secret to a habit that sticks is making it incredibly small, the bare minimum.
Exactly. We discussed habit stacking, forgiving yourself when you miss a day, and focusing on tiny wins instead of immediate fluency. Consistency is always better than intensity.
Your practical takeaway for today is simple. Identify your bare minimum. What is the one tiny English action you can do in less than 2 minutes? Decide what it is and connect it to something you already do every day.
And we want to hear from you. Please tell us in the comments, what is your new bare minimum English habit?
You can also practice by using one of the phrases from our word tour in a sentence. Don't worry about making mistakes. The comment section is a safe place to learn.
If you found this episode helpful, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with a friend who is also learning English. Every little bit of support helps us create more videos for you.
Keep showing up for yourself, even on the tired days. A tiny step is still a step forward.
You've been listening to Speak English Naturally.
Real English, real conversations, positive energy.
See you in the next episode.